Good evening, good morning, wherever you may be around the globe, in the chat room, or on the phone lines. This is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera, and I do want to welcome you all wherever it is you may be. This broadcast is coming at you live from in or around the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina. And tonight we've got George Haas joining us. We're going to talk a little bit about Mars. He's been on the show before. He's coming back again. He's just wrote a new paper on different findings. So we're going to talk to him about that tonight here on the show. And I got a little bit of news I want to get into, but unfortunately there's other things that I have to address first. And one of those things is last night's show. Yeah, it was a great show. I enjoyed it. It's just the bickering back and forth with people is what I don't want to get involved with. And I gave Alfred had airtime. Some things came out. I gave Michael some airtime, and I want to say it again one last time because people have contacted me about it and trying to get me to get more involved, and I'm not gonna. And here's what's gonna happen: the next person who asks me about Alfred or Michael Tellinger or any of that mess that's going on, I'm blocking you, and you will never, ever get in contact with me again. I promise you that, okay? Because I want absolutely nothing to do with it. All right, so that's first off. Second, I want to say that, again, I respect both of those men greatly. You know, I'm not looking, I mean, people, oh, look at this. They're always sending you stuff. Always sending you stuff. Look at this. Look at that. You know, everyone thinks they got the goods on somebody. Everybody thinks that. And some do. But, you know, in this case, if you think you got the goods, then tell you what, go for it. It's not my problem. It's not my fight. And it's not going to turn into my fight. I've got my own problems. I got nuts who been cyber stalking me and attacking me for a very long time here. And it's come to a point now we're almost ready to start the legal proceedings. And I'm saying this publicly because it needs to be known that I have had enough. Okay, I've had enough. I am sick and tired of these dirtbags contacting every guest that I have on, trying to contact every listener I have, trying to contact family members. I'm not going to put up with that. See, you barked up the wrong tree. So while you think your PhD has put you high on the pedestal where you cannot be touched, you, my friend, you, sir, have another thing coming. This is now in the hands of an attorney, and it will be handled. I promise you that. So go write that on your blog next. And, you know, we've got these guys, and I swear to you guys, I'm not giving them any more publicity. These people want to make a name for themselves off others. They say, oh, well, he's doing pretty good. He's got a good following. Let's jump on his ass. He'll talk about us and we'll get followers that way. It ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. So go post that on your blog. These dirtbags, they get a hold of guests, like for instance, last night's show. They get a hold of the guest, or the guest I had on about a week ago, Alfred Weber. I think it was a week or two ago. And, oh, your name was mentioned on his show. And they're trying to convince him to go after me. Well, Alfred's my friend. So Alfred tells me about these things. And now I have more evidence to add to the junk pile of crap that you fools have tried to pull on me. You know, I try to ignore as best I can. I try to not give it any energy. But, you know, there comes a point where you need to set an example and show the rest of the people that you're not one to be screwed with. And so that's where I'm at right now. I'm at the point where I'm fed up. I'm not going to put up with it anymore. I'm sick of these childish games. You guys are no classier than worm shit. Plain and simple, worm shit. That's about all you amount to. You're not worth my time. You're not worth my energy. But I'll tell you this. You're going to be dealt with for the defamation and the slander that you have done. I promise you that. You know who you are. I don't have to say your names because you're not important and no one would know who the hell you were anyways. So there's no point in even mentioning you. But you know who you are. So keep it up. Keep adding to my evidence because I promise you, I know you think this is a joke, and I know that you've had people in the past tell you, well, I'll sue you, and they never did. Well, I'd like to introduce you to Michael Vera, a man who does what he says he's going to do. And I promise you, I'm going to get you guys in court, both of you and anyone else who's working with you, and we're going to get this public. And I swear to you, we're going to find out who I'm guessing that chances are you're both just got mental problems. Absolutely. There's just nothing up there. You got a couple loose ball barons rolling around, and that's all it is. I mean, really. I mean, when it comes down to it, you're just a couple of, how can I say this? I guess just a couple of lowlives that have no lives. I mean, really. I mean, who spends all their time like this? I mean, my God. And I bet you're sitting home collecting disability. Go out and get a job. If you could sit on the internet all that time investigating Michael Vera, tracking down Michael Vera, making Michael Vera your life, then by God, you could get a job, I'm sure, and benefit to society, will you? Instead of just chasing me around and you never get nowhere. You guys are losers. You're never, ever going to do any damage to me. So stop trying. You fools. You morons. God, I get so sick of it. Oh, so tiring. Folks, I'll tell you. And that's why I get so bothered when I get people say, oh, look what this guy did. Look what that. I don't even read the stuff these guys put out, folks. Don't even send it to me. I promise you. I don't read any of it. I will refuse to let the haters get within me. I refuse to let them get in my head. I refuse to let them shake up my soul. No way. I don't read it. But, you know, every now and then a guest will tell me that they've been contacted, and, you know, and I jot it down. But I figured after last night's show I should say something about this, and so I am. But, you know, I don't read any of it. Don't send it to me. I don't let people. That's how people get to you. That's how they make you do things you wouldn't normally do or say things you wouldn't normally. And there's what they're trying to do. And that's how they do it. They do it by getting to you. And I don't let them get to me because I don't read their gibberish. It's just, I mean, my God, give these guys a box of crayons. Put them in the corner. You know? Let's see what they can create. I mean, God, do something useful with your time. I mean, my Lord. As a matter of, well, no, I won't even get into that now. We'll cover that Monday, February 2nd. But anyways, I do have some news that I want to get into. And folks, I'm really not in a bad mood. It's just, you know, when I see people who do, I mean, that's like sitting on the corner and throwing snowballs at an old lady. You know, that's what it reminds me of. It's just that's the intelligence behind it. Just a tiny moon discovered around giant asteroid. The asteroid, known as 2004 BL86, flew past the Earth this week at a distance of 1.2 million kilometers. Measuring 325 meters across, the huge space rock passed within a short distance of our planet and headed back out to space in what is likely to have been its closest encounter for 2 centuries. And it had its own moon. I don't know. I thought that planets had their own moons. I mean, you know, could they, I mean, they call them asteroids, but, you know, who knows? Could we have planets floating around, rogue planets coming around nearby and with their little moons and so on? I don't know. There's a lot of things coming close to us lately, folks. It begs the question. Someone asked me again today what my opinion was on Planet X because apparently someone else told them that I was convinced it's coming. Well, if that's what you're telling people, then you obviously don't listen to Late Night in the Midlands because I'm not convinced anything's coming. I'm convinced something's out there, but I'm not convinced anything's coming. And I'm certainly not convinced it's that close. So, you know, I have not seen any evidence on that. But I wouldn't be surprised either way. All right? So let's leave it there. I'm not the Planet X guy. I think you want John Moore for that one. Or Dr. Rand. 3D printed heart helps save toddler's life. This is pretty interesting. Here's a 3D printer coming into the news again. We just talked about that, about teleportation. Well, now they're using it for other things as well. All right, a doctor at King's College London has helped develop a 3D printer with printing, or I'm sorry, a 3D printing technique to help surgeons to have a clearer idea of what to expect when they operate. This Dr. Hussein used a 3D printer to create a life-size plastic copy of 2-year-old Mina's heart, this is a little girl, when surgeons were unsure whether or not they could fix the hole in the heart. So they made this 3D plastic duplicate of the heart, and by doing that, the doctors were able to figure out what they could and couldn't do. And as a result, 2-year-old Mina is doing pretty well, I guess. They say that they take the scan, and then they run the scan through the 3D printer, and it copies it, makes a plastic heart exactly like the little girl's. That's pretty interesting, pretty amazing. Ancient miniature solar system hints at existence of alien life. Here's another one I saw today. I thought it was pretty interesting, so I thought I'd bring it to you. A miniature version of the solar system with good. I guess I'm in a complaint mode today. It's just there's words missing. There's things. Come on, people, don't rush because this is interesting. And when you rush, it just don't sound good. But there is a minute. I'll say it how I see it. There is a solar system, a mini one, and it's identical, they say, to our solar system, or just about identical. And it's about 11 billion years old, and they say it could have held ancient life. That's what the scientists are saying. This miniature solar system has 5 Earth-sized planets. And again, they existed 11 billion years ago at the dawn of the universe, they say. They say that we know that Earth-sized planets have formed throughout most of the universe's 13.8 billion year history, which could provide scope for the existence of ancient life in the galaxy. By the time the Earth formed, the planets in this system were already older than our planet is today. And they say that this discovery may now help to pinpoint the beginnings of what we might call the era of planet formation. So, who knows? Maybe we found where we actually originally came from. You never know. Zimbabwe's white farmers face threats of new evictions. I'm noticing that this is starting to make more news outlets, and I'm glad to see that now. And again, I know white farmers are the majority who are being killed, but it's not just white farmers. There's white and black being killed, but there's been, I guess the numbers are very high as for the white farmers, and in this particular town, it has more to do with the white farmers, where I guess they're being stripped of their land and violent evictions. They're calling them violent evictions. We called them the other night slaughters, because that's what they were. That started in 2000. They actually started before that. Now the remaining white farmers are on edge because new threats of new evictions are linked to the country's long-running political turmoil. And there's apparently some new leaders coming in, new mayors of this area, and they vow to do the same thing and pick it up. So a lot of mayhem going on there in South Africa. People being killed off, their farms being taken, farmland being taken from them. I don't know. Maybe Monsanto's got an army, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I was trying to tell Brendy the other night, that there's probably a bigger scope to all this, I'm sure, than just some delinquents coming running on farms and killing people. I think it goes a lot deeper than that. I think it goes a lot more than just the African government, South African government. I think it has a lot to do with the United States and European governments as well. So, anyways, that's linked up on News and Discoveries as well. 1 in 3. This I found very interesting, and you might too. 1 in 3. Let's see if we could figure out together why this might be. 1 in 3 on disability, like Elmer's glue guy there. 1 in 3 on disability have mental disorders. 42.9% in DC. How about that? 42.9% of those on disability, mental disorders, they say they're in DC, but that's the small part of all this. It says that 1 in 3, or 35.2% of people getting federal disability insurance benefits have been diagnosed with a mental disorder, according to the latest data from the Social Security Administration. And what we're seeing here, folks, if I may bust in on this for just a moment, we're seeing an uprise in government, I guess, handouts, you could call them. We're seeing it up where they're actually, the encouragement is for people to rely on the government for everything. Now, there are people who need it, but then there's people who get encouraged to just go for it. Go ahead, do it. We'll hook you up. And there might be a reason behind that. Yeah, a little mental illness. Yeah, we'll just, we'll mark that on your paper, and there, you get a check and you'll give us your gun. Ooh, snap, they say. In 2013, the latest data from SSA show there were 10,228,364 disabled beneficiaries, up 139,625 from 2012, when there were 10,088,739 disabled beneficiaries. They say that it has increased 49.7% from a decade ago in 2003, when there were 6,830,714 beneficiaries. And the number is up 14.3%, they say, from 8,945,376 beneficiaries in 2009, the year President Obama took office. The largest diagnostic group for disabled beneficiaries was a mental disorder. That was the biggest. Survey says mental disorder. Ding! Of the 10,228,364 disabled people receiving federal disability benefits in December 2013, according to the report, 3,599,417, or 35.2%, were diagnosed with a mental disorder. Musculoskeletal system and connective tissue problems accounted for the second largest group of disabled beneficiaries. In Washington, according to the report, 42.9% of disabled beneficiaries as of December 2013 have been diagnosed with a mental disorder. Massachusetts and New Hampshire led the nation in this metric with 49.9% of disabled beneficiaries diagnosed with a mental disorder. Now, that could be why the balls were deflated in the AFC Championship game. Hey, maybe one of those 42.9% was in charge of inflating the balls. You just don't know. And by the way, speaking of that, the Patriots owner is demanding an apology if they find no wrongdoing. And they do an exact. I didn't talk about this much because we're not a sports show, but I'll talk about it for a second here. And they're doing exactly what I knew they would do. There they are blaming a locker room attendant. They're starting to, NFL is looking at the New England Patriots locker room attendant. So they're going to get a nobody with nothing to lose. They're going to say, hey, look, man, we're going to slide you $1 million. You're going to take the blame for this, and you're going to go away. I challenge somebody to follow this locker room attendant around for a few years and see if you notice that there's a major upgrade in what he drives. That's what I would suggest. But anyways, folks, this is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera. And by the way, I was going to root for the Patriots this year because of Don, and I know he was a Patriots fan, but I can't. I just can't do it. I hope the Seattle Seahawks kick them all over the curb, and I don't like Seattle either, but I do. I hope Seattle wins. With that, folks, this is Late Night in the Midlands, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. The L&M Radio Network and Late Night in the Midlands depends on you, the listener. Without you, there would be no us. So help us continue to bring you the best guests with the best information and subscribe today. Information on becoming an L&M subscriber can be found at the top of LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Just click the About Subscriptions tab and become part of the family while helping the truth stay alive. And while you're at it, maybe subscriptions aren't for you. A one-time donation helps as well. Click that donate button on the right side of LateNightInTheMidlands.com and help us help you.
Hello, this is Dick Farrell, here to tell you about OxySilver. Legally available only through CureShop.com and HealthyWorldStore.com. Don't be fooled buying silver products from copycats and criminals. You've heard Dr. Leonard Horowitz and experts urge you to avoid deadly vaccinations and illegal operators selling stolen OxySilver and OxySilver copycats. You've heard experts tell you about suppression in alternative medicine and confusing propaganda in healthcare and the truth movement. Read Dr. Horowitz's book, Healing Celebrations, to learn how miracle healings can be made to happen through faith, prayer, and a pure diet. Get great immunity using vitamin C, D, and OxySilver, Liquid Dentist, GI Flora Pro, a top-shelf probiotic. Use Green Harvest as a great-tasting meal substitute for energizing organic nutrients and losing weight. And Zeolove, and natural clays for detoxifying your body. More advice, all these products and more are available from theCureShop.com. Including OxySilver, the world's most powerful silver hydrosol. Electro-energized to put risky injections, toxic antibiotics, and deadly drug pushers out of business. OxySilver is covalently bonded to water. Unlike any other silver product using the frequency of chlorophyll 528, what Dr. Horowitz explains is pure tone love, the universal healer. NASA originally developed covalently body silver hydrosols to keep astronauts healthy in space. Dr. Horowitz added the 528 frequency to NASA's formula and more. OxySilver works three ways to electrocute dangerous germs better than anything, far better than all leading silver products, and without any risk. OxySilver oxygenates and resonates with 528 for faster healing. So help save lives, putting drug lords and criminals out of business, and keep the LNM network broadcasting. Register for our free cooperative at healthworldaffiliates.com/4948. That's healthworldaffiliates.com/4948. And buy OxySilver and other great products in package specials at great discounts from theCureShop.com. Buy OxySilver, GI Flora Pro, Green Harvest, Zeolove, and Love Minerals at great discounts at CureShop.com. That's CureShop.com with two P's. CureShoppe.com. Or call toll-free at 1-888-621-7611. That's 1-888-621-7611. Do it now.
You have found a bright spot on the internet by listening to K98Talk.com, where our goal is information and entertainment with programming for the entire family. We take a fresh new look at topics that will spark your interest and more at K98Talk.com and the Spark Radio Network.
From all of us at the L&M Radio Network to all of you who have tuned in and showed your support in 2014. We wish you all a very happy 2015. Thanks to you, Late Night in the Midlands is on its way to 8 years in counting. The best guests with the best information and the best listeners around the world. Late Night in the Midlands. We cover everything. Join us every night from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern on the LNM Radio Network, and join us every Sunday night at 12 a.m. Eastern on the Dark Matter Radio Network.
Good evening and welcome to a segment called Self-Proclaimed. We want an answer, so we reached out to known self-proclaimed experts to answer our questions. Why are we here and what is our future? Let's go to Peter first.
By using Bible prophecy, we get our answers.
Dimensions, the alpha speed, alpha and theta, alpha level and theta level, dreams, alpha.
Okay, and Geoff, what about you, my friend?
The vision of Jesus in front of me consciously spoke to me, and I've come to awaken you to what you chose to come back and do.
Glenn Kennedy, how about you, son?
No, we've got to follow the Bible as far as not promoting stuff, because what God said about the psychics is no matter what, they are a doorway into the dark side, and the demons follow them big time. Hell, don't ignore me, because once you go on and once
Oh my. Dr. Big Pharma Pill Popper Mind Warp Conspiracy Theorist Zombie, what says you? All right, 9th grade dropout. You have not said a word. Now, what do you think?
I think for myself, and I listen more than I speak. My doctor says I should be on medication. I do, however, listen to Late Night in the Midlands.
Okay. Well, he certainly is not someone we want to listen to. That's all the time we have today. Remember, if you're not a self-proclaimed expert, then you really don't know a damn thing. This message brought to you by the makers of aspartame and by GMO, feeding the world its last meal. It's not what you can do for humanity, but what humanity can do for you.
For 15 years, I've been obsessed to find out what was going on inside of him. It's been my life work and my ultimate failure. This force, this thing that lived inside of him came from a source too violent, too deadly for you to imagine. It grew inside him, contaminating his soul. It was pure evil.
This is Late Night in the Midlands, and I'm Michael Vera, and I let that song run just a little longer. You know why? Because I needed that. I really needed that. But, all right, so getting back to things here, the call-in number is 803-317-2264, and you can call in a little later once we get things rolling here. Give us a little bit. And I'm going to bring the guest on in a moment. I want to tell you a little bit about him first. George J. Haas is founder and premier investigator of the Cydonia Institute, which was established in 1991. He is a member of the Pre-Columbian Society of the University of Pennsylvania. Mr. Haas is also an artist, art instructor, writer, and curator. He is a member and former director of the Sculptors Association of New Jersey. He has also authored numerous monographs for various art exhibitions and had a one-person show at the Oklahoma Harris Gallery of Art. At the Harris Gallery of Art in New York City's Soho. He became interested in the face on Mars after reading a book on the subject by Randolfo Rafael Pozos in 1991, and he's done a lot of work himself and with colleagues on this subject of Mars, and we're going to talk to George about that tonight. So why don't I get him on the show with us here? All right, so here we go. Hopefully we have no issues tonight.
Good evening.
Good evening, George. This is Michael Vera with Late Night in the Midlands. How are you?
How you doing, Michael?
Oh, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Good. Well, I want to thank you for taking time out to be with us tonight. And, I gave off some bio, but maybe you'd like to start off with a little more background. I know that I guess from my research that Richard Hoagland was a big part of your interest in Mars. Is that true? Or maybe you give us a little background on how you got down this road.
Yeah, well, like a lot of people that are interested in the Mars research, beginning with the face on Mars, I was introduced to all of this information by Richard Hoagland in his first book, The Monuments of Mars. And that's basically how I got, hooked on all of this stuff. And Richard Hoagland had, like I said, the book, The Monuments of Mars. I had ordered that, and I was very interested in that. And actually, over time, I actually got to, work with him very briefly in some of the research that we were doing, Bill and I, William Saunders and I, in our first book.
He kind of got me interested too. I'll be honest. Back in the day, I'd listen to Art Bell and hear him on there, and I just really got me thinking about Mars a lot. And so I've got a huge interest in it now. And I was on your site today looking at those pictures. Oh, just some fantastic imagery. But go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. Well, basically, this journey of ours with basically William Saunders and I started on the old website that Richard Hoagland had. He had a discussion board on there, his original Enterprise mission. Back in the mid-'90s, the discussion board on the Enterprise mission, you didn't have to pay to be on there. It was open to the public. And there was a lot of discussion going on there, and people were, highly anticipating, waiting the new images of the face on Mars. And during that time, that's when I met William Saunders. And him and I seemed to have very similar views about what we were doing, and we were very intrigued by how Richard Hoagland envisioned the face on Mars to be a bifurcated formation. And that's been a real stickler for a lot of researchers, and the big problem with the media and the public is that, NASA has continuously tried to present the face on Mars, if it was a face, as a symmetrical face. And in reality, the structure that's on the surface of Mars is bifurcated. It's a two-faced structure, which Hoagland had seen in the original Viking images. And once NASA took the higher resolution images with the Mars Global Surveyor in 1998, that actually verified what he was looking at in the old Viking images. So what we were seeing was a humanoid face on one side and a feline on the other. And early on, a lot of speculation was that this was Egyptian. And of course, with the headdress and the line and the feline, with the Sphinx type of embodiment that you see in Egypt, we have the human and the feline. So that's what started all this with us. And however, once we got the newer images from the Mars Global Surveyor, which were higher resolution, we started to see actually more information in the face on Mars, with the symbolism of the headdress, and there was like a symbol of a tri-leaf symbol at the forehead, and which led us on a different road than a lot of the researchers that were looking for Egyptian type of iconography. And we were picking up on more of the Mesoamerican type of imagery that we were seeing, which over in Mesoamerica you have the same type of idea that you have in Egypt with the feline and the human. In Mesoamerica, back to the Olmec culture, there was this obsession with this transformation of human to jaguar, and that's what we ended up finding to be more prevalent in all these structures that we're finding on Mars. More than Egyptian, is more related to Mesoamerican stuff.
Well, that's fascinating, and I know since then, though, I know Richard Hoagland. Him and I don't exactly see eye to eye on everything, but he has done some. He certainly has opened some eyes. I'll say that.
Yeah, well, one of the greatest things I think he did was to open up the possibility that what we were looking at with the face on Mars was not a symmetrical face, but a bifurcated face. And again, a lot of academics, they think that, everything is idealized, like you have the Greek and the Roman sculptures and the artwork, which is very symmetrical, and all the Western art. But they're not looking at New World art, which is American Indian, Maya, Aztec, even down in South America, the Peruvian art. That's a whole different way of looking at the human body and art. Down there, you have bifurcated, and you have really complex composite images with different aspects of different animals and hybrids, and it's very complicated. And if you were to find artwork on another planet, the simplest thing would be to find a McDonald's sign and say, "Oh, look, we found civilization." But it's a lot more complex than what we're thinking. And what we're seeing on Mars is this motif and iconography that's coming right out of Mesoamerica, not symmetrical art. But there's also symmetrical art also. But
so then that face on Mars is you're saying it's actually two-sided, like a two-face, I guess.
Well, it's more in line with the type of stylistic art that you would find in the New World, where it's a combination of, you got composite art, you have bifurcated figures and bifurcated faces, and you also have, symmetrical art. It's an accumulation of all that type of style, as where in other cultures, where you have the Greek and the Roman and even Egyptian is very much more of the own symmetrical or the profile.
Yeah, and I've often thought that too, that there was a lot of similarities to what you see in Egypt and what's being spotted in pictures on Mars, like these pyramids and
what Bill and I did in our research early on in our first book with the Martian Codex, we actually realized during the research. I mean, we had no idea about Maya culture. We knew more about Egyptian culture, just from media and history and what we learned in college and high school. Your academic teachings of what the traditional view of these cultures were. But as for Mesoamerica, we didn't know much more than what we got from National Geographic. They thought that the Maya were this strange culture that worshipped numbers and the stars, and we had really no idea what was going on until we started doing research on our own and reading, scholarly books about the subject. It's when we, went down that path. But what we're finding is that a lot of these formations that are on Mars have this really direct correlation to Mesoamerican art.
Yeah. So I know NASA said that they had at some point took close-up pictures, and they tried to convince people that look, all the I guess the what would you call it? Just faded away. I can't think of the word. Anyways, the features is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, you're talking about you're still talking about the face?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, it's like if you're looking at a portrait of the Mona Lisa, and you stand back and you get the correct viewing distance. You see the face, you see the smile, and the beautiful eyes and everything. But if you zoom in and you get close, like you do with a high resolution Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter camera, and you zoom in onto the surface, and you're looking at the the rubble and the surface. With the painting, you're looking at the brushstrokes, and it all looks abstract. And you're like, this is not a painting. This is just all textural paint swirled around. You really have to know how to look at a piece of artwork, because what we're looking at on Mars is artwork.
Yeah.
These structures are artificially designed, and they have a real specific purpose. And they're to zoom in on things and say, well, look at this. This doesn't show any. And people are looking for, well, where's the blocks? Where's the building bricks? Where's the mortar? I mean, we don't know how these formations were made. Were they just carved? Or is it just carved rock? Was the face on Mars initially just a mound that was transformed and carved into this image? So there wouldn't be any, mortar and brick.
Well, and I was going to say, after how many millions of years or billions of years, there might not be, you wouldn't find that maybe anyways.
Right. It would all be, from all of the wind erosion. I don't know how much. I mean, I've had these discussions with my co-author William Saunders about, how much wind is actually generated on Mars because of the low, atmosphere and the gravity. How much damage is this wind making? That NASA talks about these little wind storms that swirl around. But in the springtime, you can go outside and see these little tornadoes swirling around. They don't really do much damage. They're not going to deface your brick building with these little, 4-foot high tornadoes that go around. These silly little wind spins that go around. I mean, how much energy are these things producing on Mars to make the erosion? So it's to decide or make an evaluation of how old these things are is pretty, lame, really, to try to figure this out without actually being on the planet and doing some real geology. I mean, we're just looking at images here.
Yeah, I wonder sometimes if, and I've had a guest on who thinks it might be so, that there was, Earth and Mars were both, once both populated at the same time, and there was probably, visits from each other. Because
with all of the imagery that we're seeing with these geoglyphs of these spatial formations and figurative things and structural formations, and if you compare them to comparable structures and artwork on Mars, Bill and I are thinking that these structures on Mars really can't be that old. And I'm working on this new book, which is not what we came on here to talk about tonight, but my next book that's coming out deals all with bird formations. There's an area in the Cydonia area, way above the face on Mars, that we have a dozen avian formations that are all basically contemporary-looking birds. And, through evolution and this type of, process with the evolution of birds, the birds that we're looking at that are formed on Mars are birds that we see today. We're not looking at prehistoric type of birds. We're looking at birds that, were seeing a pelican, a parrot, a hawk, what else is there? There's a woodpecker and all kinds of roadrunner and things like this. These aren't animals that are prehistoric. These are, modern-looking birds. So if someone was to produce these images on Mars, they would have to be representing something that's, more contemporary as opposed to billions of years ago.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you bring up. That the birds and different animals that are seen, that it's what we have now. So that's kind of, I don't know, that kind of mixes it up a little bit, don't it? It's
right. So we're thinking, what is this? These structures are maybe no more than 20, 50 million years old, or 50,000 years old. I'm sorry.
Wow, that's not that long ago.
No.
Oh, that's
so it's a dark period in our history that we have forgotten.
Hey, have you seen the new picture that's come out? I just seen it, I think yesterday or the day before, but it looks like a man standing and doing some kind of repair or something on the rover. It's a shadow.
Oh, what with the shadow?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm not sure what that is. It may be just the way the rover was sitting there. Sometimes when you do shadows around things, it'll start to look like things. I don't know what that is. And
right.
I don't know how valid the picture is. So.
Yeah, I don't either, but I thought it was interesting. And I'm thinking
right.
it's probably the sun reflecting a certain way,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the things that we work with, especially with, we just had the science paper published with the famous Queen Nefertiti face. You have to have multiple images of these formations. And, that was one of the most important things to get this paper published. Originally, NASA only took 2 old Mars Global Surveyor images of this original image. And, they were released back in 2001. And, we had to wait like 8 years before NASA took additional pictures. That's why this science research takes so long. Because none of these journals are going to publish a paper if you want to do some research on something you're looking at. You have to have other images that corroborate what you're looking at. And, the way NASA takes pictures, just as an example, this research that we've been doing at the Society for Planetary Study Research, headed by J.P. Levasseur, this has taken a long time. We can request images, and it just takes forever for NASA to get around to taking additional pictures of these. We have to see if it's just a trick of light, as NASA constantly said about the face on Mars. It's just the way the picture was taken. So we have to have multiple images. And, with this paper, we have actually 4 different views of this profile face, which, confirm all of the features. And, that's the game we have to play here with NASA. We have to wait until they take pictures, to give us more data to look at.
Do you ever find it's difficult to get a hold of, certain images that, do they claim that, we don't have those? Or, I guess what I'm asking is, do you think that they hold back some stuff from you?
Well, anytime we find an anomaly and, it seems worthy of research, of course, people involved will send the NASA has the public targeting program, so we can request images, but, they don't normally, do them every time you ask for something. You can't say, well, we want to see a picture, another image of this formation that looks like what people have called Queen Nefertiti. You have to give a geological reasoning for them, to take the picture.
Ah.
So you have to go a roundabout way to say, we want to look at some type of surface feature that finds interest or has a geological, interest to people or other researchers for them to make a picture of that.
Right. So, what I'd like to do is, if you would, give out the website where people can go and look at these pictures. 'Cause I know you've got a lot of pictures on your site that I was going through. I do have you linked up on the homepage, but there might be some who are listening and not on the website. So if you want to give that out, for anybody, you may do so, because I think it'd be great if they went over and took a look at some of these.
You mean the Cydonia Institute?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if any of the listeners want to go over to just go to Google and type in the Cydonia Institute, we have a whole section on the website which has some of the articles that we've written, Saunders and I, about some of the formations that we're looking at. And you can also go over to the Society for Planetary Study Research, and they have a whole section of published papers that have been peer-reviewed and published in scientific journals.
Oh, nice. Now, you had told me when I emailed you to come on, you said it was perfect timing because you and William Saunders had just published a science paper. So if you'd like to dive into that a little bit, that'd be great.
Yeah, well, the science paper that we were working on was actually the image. Most of the people on the internet that follow this, it's been retitled the Nefertiti face, but the original discoverer is a member of the Society for Planetary Study Research. His name is J.P. Levasseur, and he found this back in 2001, and there was actually two images originally, two Mars Global Surveyor images of this, and but you can't do much with two images. Most science papers, if you're dealing with something that is on Mars, that is a geoglyph or some type of anomaly like this, they want to see confirmation in more than two images. So there's at least 3 or 4 images you have to have before they will even consider looking at these papers. So back in 2001, we had this, and it's been all over the internet for years. And we had to wait actually until the Mars Global, or the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, the HiRISE camera, took additional pictures of this back in 2009 and 2010. This area was very, NASA had a lot of interest in this area for some reason besides this portrait of this young woman that's there. Their reasoning for taking they took like 10 different images of this area. So we had a lot of images to choose from to put this paper together. And there was only 2 or 3 of them that were of higher quality that we were able to use in the paper. But they were supposedly, besides studying this evolution of this formation, they said that they were studying the dust raising events. They were monitoring how dust storms were affecting this area. And through our research, what we think that this Nefertiti portrait, or this profiled portrait of this young woman with the headdress, what we think is creates this formation is that at some point this formation was etched into the surface, carved, deep ruts, kind of like you have the NASCAR lines where the red clay of the surface comes up when they carve these pictographic images. And I'm sure you're familiar with the NASCAR lines, the monkey, the spider, and all those features that are there. And basically what supposedly how they were created was they just gouged out the soil and they made these lines. And that's basically how this profile portrait is created. It's etched into the surface. And the reason that the lines are dark is because there's this dark material or this fluid that's coming from an ejection fault, which is right above it. This is what we're trying to figure out how this liquid is coming down, filling the. You imagine having a desert area and you're like etching these, or taking a tractor and digging these big grooves around and creating this image, and then the image is filled with this liquid from this maybe there's a dark liquid source that's near this area that's filling these crevices. So that's what gives this profile face its form, and which is being able to be photographed. So you have this dark outline of this figure. So in the paper, that's basically what we go into. The Saunders and JP try to describe how they think this thing is formed.
That's interesting. And now, when you talk about these geoglyphs,
Right.
we've got that, here on Earth as well. And I would imagine that that's what a lot of these things, these things that are being picked up in pictures on Mars, I would guess that, some of it was meant to be seen from the sky. And it seems like, we did that here too, back in a time when we weren't supposed to have the technology to do these things. So, again, I see connections. It's like,
well, yeah, a lot of people aren't aware that American Indians, all through the Midwest, in Wisconsin, there's all of these mounds that are shaped like bears and birds and animals.
yeah,
A lot of them have been destroyed through cities and farming. The whole city of Chicago was built right over an ancient Indian pictographic area. So a lot of this stuff has been lost, but there's still a lot of formations that are still around that people can look at. There's bears and birds, and of course there's the famous serpent mound. So the ancient peoples produced these things on Earth. You got the Nazca lines and things like that, and that's what we're seeing on Mars. We believe is that the same type of idea of creating these geoglyphs, to be viewed from above, and that's exactly what we're seeing here with the profile face on Mars that has been called the Nefertiti face.
so I guess what I would ask now is there enough? I mean, is there enough to prove to? I mean, I know. I mean, you don't got to prove
Right.
nothing to me, but to prove to I guess the mainstream of people that, hey, there was life on Mars once. There had to be, because these things didn't just grow up there. I mean, somebody built them.
Well, there are so many examples of geoglyphs on the surface of Mars that I think any logical person, if they were presented with the evidence, showing all of these different examples, and even if they thought that one of, showing them maybe 50 different examples of these formations, which I could do.
I know you can.
And if they were to believe that just one of them wasn't natural, I think that would be an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah, and I could say, okay, one or two could be a coincidence,
Right.
And you hear the scientists tell you all the time, these brain scientists say, well, the brain is designed that way to, it's trying to figure out what it's seeing.
Well, we'd be seeing faces everywhere and having accidents going to work.
That's very true.
If you want to turn that around on them, you'd say, well, if the human mind has a propensity to see faces, then an intelligent civilization that was to produce geoglyphs on another planet, he would make them to look like faces because we'd see them easily.
Very true.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does make
sense.
And
the other level of evidence is that not only are we seeing all these geoglyphs beginning with the face on Mars, and Bill and I had our Parrot formation published a couple of years ago, and this is our second one that we had published. That all of these formations have a direct correlation with Mesoamerican iconography. So you have images on a planet that are observed and photographed repeatedly. So it's not just, weathering or just a trick of light. These things are consistent in NASA photographs, like we have with this profile image. We have 4 images showing the same formation. Even though, NASA's saying they're studying the dust storms in this area, because, the dust is filling up some of this dark fluid that's coming in, so it's obscuring some of the face. But, in the next season it comes back because this stuff is seasonal. But anyway, so we have all of this evidence, and it's just overwhelming that there's something, going on Mars more than just, erosion that's causing these, facial formations.
And now, would there be any formations that you're seeing on Mars that would tell you that there had to have been a connection between Earth and Mars, or I mean, anything that, we could say pyramids and stuff.
Just as I said, all of these things we're looking at have a connection with the culture on Earth, and even the birds. I mean, if these were just exotic birds that had nothing that, they kind of look like birds, but they were like, hybrids and different birds that we've never seen before, that would be a different story. But we're seeing birds on Mars that look just like birds here. And we're seeing, faces like the profiled face here, the Nefertiti face, it looks just like a young woman. It looks human. I mean, this is all us.
Wow,
we're not seeing monsters.
Well, no, we're not. And it's almost like if they did it, I don't know, even 50,000 years ago, it seems like, it was meant for future. Like they knew somebody was going to be coming to see it. It's just amazing to me how
somebody was coming home.
Yeah, exactly. And that could very well be home. That could be where it all started. Now, I don't know if you've heard of.
That's what it's starting to look like.
I don't know
and
if
someone left us these pictographs to say, "Hey, looky here."
Yeah, and we looky at.
Right, but with the politics here, we're not going anywhere. We're just looking. What we need to do is go to Mars and get some ground truth and find out what's going on there. Because a lot of these formations are probably, there's structures inside. They're not just like the Nazca lines where you have just land drawings on the surface. I think, things like the face on Mars, that's a huge structure. There's probably all kinds of things like Richard Hoagland had fantasized about, being a huge library. And it's probably what a lot of these things are. And even in Peru, the Peruvian architects built a lot of the structures there, like the city of Cusco was shaped like a crouching tiger or a puma. And there's other images of some of the structures that were shaped like birds, were shaped like llamas. So when you look at these buildings from the air, they look like animals. But on the ground, they were structures with buildings and rooms and things, and they had, roof type of formations on top of them. So we're seeing the same thing on Mars, except the roofs aren't blown off.
Yeah, and I'm willing to bet that if you were able to walk on Mars and go to that face, that there would be, doors.
There's a door somewhere.
Oh, yeah. I bet you there's doors that lead inside. Now, I understand there's a structure, too. Now, I've seen images. It looks pretty amazing, and maybe that has to do with the face on Mars, too, but that almost looks like the Sphinx in Egypt as well. It's it's got that Egyptian type look, but then I've had someone else tell me that's not what it was. It was something I forgot.
Where's that at?
I don't know. I think a guy by the name of Gary Legier, I think, sent me a photo that he had come up with, and there was a few pyramids, and then it almost looked like it wasn't exactly like the Sphinx, but it was close. It was. The face looked so much similar. And
I know Gary well. I've known him for, probably 15 years.
Yeah.
Gary has a great eye for finding structures and
he does
on Mars. He's one of these guys that he's home all day. He doesn't have a job. His job is going through NASA photographs, and this is what he does. And he really has an eye for catching things. He has found some. I have a whole file here in my computer with Gary's stuff, and it's like, God, he's got probably 3 or 4 books worth of stuff.
Yeah, he's got quite a bit. I mean, it's just amazing the stuff he finds, and
it's like, my God, every day he's posting something like, wow, Gary, what is that? Where is that?
Yeah, exactly, and I trust him. So
he's the Mars revealer.
He is. He is the Mars revealer.
He's on a quest.
Yeah. Now, I just seen an article recently. They said that they're thinking that there could actually still be lake water on Mars. What do you think of that? You think there could it could still be, I don't know, somewhat habitable? Maybe not for a human, but maybe there's certain animals or insects that could live there.
Well, I've been looking at this stuff for a long time. I don't know how much water is on the surface, considering the atmosphere. But NASA has over and over said that they know there's water like 3 inches under the surface. I mean, that close. And I'm sure if we get down into some of the deep valleys and, Valley Marineris and things, I think if we went down to the bottom of that, we'd probably find, water on the surface because of the pressure change. But, we see all these images of these big crater impacts, and we got deep, looks like water or dark oil coming down the sides. I mean, there's evidence of water all over the place. But that information about the large lake, I think they were talking about this whole crater was filled with water, NASA's always saying millions and millions of years ago. I don't think it was that long ago. But, there's no question that that Mars has water. And the big question is, where did it go and why is it, went down into the surface? And, as for life, I don't think, it may be microbial life. I don't really see any evidence of any creatures running around. I know there's a lot of stuff on Facebook and some of the websites where they show these blurry images of the things that look like, animals or something. But, rocks can look interesting and look like animals at certain lighting. But, you need to have, like I said, you have to have multiple photographs of these images. And the other problem with NASA is that anytime they see a rock that doesn't look like a rock, they drive away from it and they go to the rock. That seems to be their forte there.
Yeah.
Because you'll see pictures of the panoramas and you'll say, "Oh, that rock over there, that doesn't look right." But NASA never goes over there that we know of.
Well, yeah.
They drive somewhere else, over to a rock that looks like a rock, and they'll do a sampling and test it and go, "Yeah, that's a rock." And then they'll drive right past the machinery that's sitting next to it that looks like, somebody's carburetor. It's been out there rusting for, 1,000 years.
I guess
they don't go close to those.
Yeah,
I know. We only get the slightly blurry pictures of those.
I guess
it's just, you don't know what the heck's going on. It appears like at one time there was a mass war going on, and there's all this rubbish all over the ruins and parts of vehicles and all kinds of things blown up.
Yeah.
Dr. Brandenburg talks about, the big war on Mars where there was a nuclear explosion. I don't know if you had him on.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask you if you were familiar with him because, I had him on.
He studied the isotopes and everything, and he's got like overwhelming evidence that there was 2 nuclear explosions that went on Mars, and they weren't natural.
Yeah, and he even thinks that it's possible that the same time that Mars was nuked, Earth might have been as well, because he said there's evidence here of something like that happening a long time ago.
Oh, yeah. And that all, you go down the rabbit hole there with all of the Anunnaki talk and Zachariah Sitchin of the NK and his brother fighting and all this kind of stuff. It may be history.
That's very true. No,
and not myth. So,
yeah,
like I said, the best way to solve all this is actually to get a group of scientists and go to Mars.
Yeah, I wish they'd do a public, though. I wish they'd say, okay, here's the channel, go to this channel, we're going to have it live, constantly, 24/7. I think that's the only way I trust them.
Right. Well, the British tried it, with their Mars Express, but, with the Germans, and then, NASA got involved with Malin, and that was the end of that release, of any kind of information. So, NASA was right in there with the British program of the Mars Express. So,
no, they're playing gatekeeper.
Excuse me?
I say they're playing gatekeeper.
Yeah, another country wants to do some exploration of Mars. We'll help you.
Yeah, they'll help. All right, George, we got to take.
That's all right. We'll monitor the monitors. That's okay.
Yeah. We got to take a break here, George, and then we'll come back and talk some more. And I'll also take calls if anyone's got questions or comments. You can call in at 803-317-2264, and we'll get to your call when we return. I'm Michael Vera. This is Late Night in the Midlands. My guest is George Haas, and we'll be right back. L&M Radio has joined with the Hardened Structures team to provide state-of-the-art survival shelter design and build services at L&M Radio exclusive rates. Hardened Structures, with over 21 years experience in military, commercial, and private shelter design, build services, are also offering L&M Radio listeners a free consultation, normally a $500 value. So click on the Hardened Structures banner on the right-hand side of LateNightInTheMidlands.com to receive your special offer today.
You have found the best place on the internet by tuning into K98Talk.com, where it is our mission to broadcast the very best variety programming, giving you a balance of information from every angle and letting you decide. We are here to serve our listening audience with a proven track record. So stay with K98Talk.com and the Spark Radio Network, and we will keep you informed.
Hello, this is Lisa Marie, here to tell you about Oxy Silver, legally available only through CureShop.com and HealthyWorldStore.com. Read Dr. Horowitz's book, Healing Celebrations, to learn how miracle healings can be made to happen through faith, prayer, and a pure diet. Get great immunity using vitamin C, D, and Oxy Silver, Liquid Dentist, GI Flora Pro, a top-shelf probiotic. Use 528 Superfood as a great tasting meal substitute for energizing organic nutrients and losing weight, and Zeolove and natural clays for detoxifying your body. Oxy Silver oxygenates and resonates with 528 for faster healing. So help save lives, putting drug lords and criminals out of business, and keep the LNM network broadcasting. Register for our free cooperative at healthyworldafffiliates.com/4948 and buy Oxy Silver and other great products in package specials at great discounts from theCureShop.com. Buy Oxy Silver, GI Flora Pro, 528 Superfood, Zeolove, and Love Minerals at great discounts at CureShop.com. That's CureShop.com with 2 P's. Cure Shop. Or call toll free at 1-888-621-7611. That's 1-888-621-7611. Do it now.
It's the middle of the night and there's nothing much to do. Bring your insomniac self over to Late Night in the Midlands and learn something. We've got every topic you can think of with very little being off limits. Alien abductions, government corruptions, the stuff that's got your sleep disrupted. Come join the conversation tales and tune into Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera.
And as we have been programmed mentally, intellectually, one must be aware of this being programmed like a computer.
Programming that we are constantly assaulted by throughout our life conditions us, it programs us to a particular worldview.
The project is literally the secularization of the world. New secular or worldly order.
A new study says the news media have been pushing a gospel of godlessness on the American public.
Because this media is here and designed to make sure that they ask no critical questions. To make sure that the only thing that they are concerned about is having a good time. The only thing they're concerned about is filling their bellies. The only thing they're concerned about is acquiring more and more material things. And so that is why today, one of the struggles that you have as young people, that when you want to do different events and you want to talk about real issues, you have the struggle of many of your peers who've been so conditioned in this matrix that they would rather party than listen to the truth. They would rather party and shop and go to the mall than to stand up for issues of justice. They're stuck in the matrix. But you have the responsibility of helping
hoping to wake them up. I'm hoping to wake them up. I'm hoping to wake them up. I'm hoping to wake them up.
Now, how do we know that there's a God?
After having been thoroughly brainwashed.
And how do we know that there's a creator? How do we know that there's a creator? George Haas. We've got him linked up on the homepage in the picture slider. Also in the little section under there, you'll see a upcoming shows, it says. Well, that's where you can also go and find the links to tonight's guest. You go check out the website, check out the pictures. I'm telling you, just fascinating. And, you know, I've tried the old go online into your favorite search engine and type in Mars and hit the images, but the problem is you never know who's putting that stuff in there, where they came from really, or any of that. So what I do is I like to look at these pictures from reliable sources, such as tonight's guest, Gary. He's been a very reliable source to me with these pictures, and he's got a lot of them as well. So and there's something to it. There's something to it. The call-in number, 803-317-2264, and we'll take your calls if you got questions or comments. And we can also take your questions in the LateNightInTheMidlands.com chat room, and you can just PM me. And George, the Dolphins, what role do they play in all this? It seems like there's a lot of symbolism with dolphins.
Yeah, a while back in our first book, we were working with an image of a dolphin in the Cydonia Institute, or in our first book, the Cydonia Codex. There's a couple dolphins in the Cydonia area. One in particular is over by the formation called the Fort, and the other is just around the area of a large mesa called the Animal. So there's two dolphins that we know of. And, well, the dolphin's a symbol of duality in ancient cultures. The dolphins are actually mammals, they're not fish. So I guess the ancients were intrigued by the whole idea that dolphins could live out of the water. They dive up out of the water, back into the water. They're able to breathe. The Olmec, back in Mesoamerica, that was one of their sacred animals, was the dolphin, because they again saw it as a symbol of duality. Again, with the face on Mars, you have the idea of duality with the human and the feline. It's the same idea. So we're seeing the same connection with a lot of these formations that we're finding on Mars, with this repetitive information about duality. Of course, in Egypt, you have the Sphinx with the human and feline also.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. Hey, anything on mermaids? We've seen this Animal Planet mermaids thing, and I don't know, any sculptures or anything of those guys up there, because that would be interesting.
No mermaids.
No mermaids.
That I've seen. but again, you're dealing with human and fish. It's the hybrids, the transformation type of idea. In Mesoamerica, you have fish men. You have men that are half human and half fish. You have the fishmen in the Sumerian culture, where they came out according to the ancient Sumerian culture mythology. These mermen came out of the ocean. They came out of the water, and they half man and half fish. So it's kind of a universal mythology.
Now, somebody asked about the city center pyramid. They said they call it, or the main pyramid it is.
The main pyramid, yeah. That's in Cydonia.
Okay, and anything special about that? I mean, there's other things around it, I understand, and but they asked me to ask you about it.
Well, we have a whole chapter in our first book on the main city pyramid, which has pictographs around the side of it. And there's actually 4 different pictographs, but in the first book, I think we only discussed 3 of them because NASA didn't give us another image of the other side. Hopefully, if we do a revised edition of the first book, we'll be able to put that 4th geoglyph. But all around the main pyramid in the Cydonia area, there are these pictographic formations, which again have iconographic and the motifs of Mesoamerica, gods and mythology.
And another one was somebody had mentioned the Viking one, and I've looked at that, and that's just, I mean, come on, that's not a trick of the eye.
Yeah, well, the Viking is one of the half profiles that are around the main pyramid, and the whole there's the 4 different pictographs. Not only are they half images around the side of the pyramid, which includes the Viking-looking image, which has these braids that hang down are actually serpents. Now he's Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, and above him there's this big serpent with breathing fire, and these images are just amazing. And all of the 4 different pictographs around the main pyramid are all interlocking, they're all related. On one side there's a jaguar or water lily jaguar, which is connected to the Quetzalcoatl image. So in the book we discuss how all of these things are not only half images, that they're all intricately related with each other. So it's not just random images that we're seeing.
I see. So
and if the listeners out there want to take a look at that, they go to our website, or they could hopefully order our books. The Cydonia Codex, our first book, which came out back in 2005. So this is like coming up in, I think, September will be a 10-year anniversary of our first book. God, I'm old.
Wow.
And our second book was out in 2009 called the Martian Codex.
I see. Now, have you taken an interest in any other planets out there, or moons? I understand there's some moons, a moon of Saturn that they believe could have water, and I just read a article in the beginning of the show of a miniature solar system that they have located that they say could be, the origins of where it all came from. And they said that it had 5 Earth-like planets in the Goldilocks zone.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I haven't heard that one, but myself, I've been kind of focused on all these things that I'm finding on Mars is kind of consuming my time.
Staying close to home, huh? I don't blame you.
Yeah, that seems to be my focus. I mean, I'm not really a scientist, although I play one on the radio. No, not really. My background is art. I'm a sculptor and a painter. I used to be the director of the New Jersey Sculptors Association. So my background is in the visual arts, and so that's what I bring to a lot of this research and working with geologists and all the other people that are doing these papers that I'm working with. So what I bring to this is the artistic interpretation.
Well, 10 years since your last book, so I would consider you an expert on the subject as well. So,
well, Bill and I put out the 2 books, and we had 2 science papers published: the Parrotopia, or the Parrot Formation paper, back in 2011, and then we just had this image of the profile image, which most people know as the Nefertiti face. The books took probably 4 years to write, 5 years to write, and it's about the same thing with the papers. These papers are very time consuming, and working with the other researchers and going back and forth and rewriting, it takes a long time. The Parrot paper took us about 6 years to write, believe it or not. And this current paper was about 3 years in the making.
Well, that
and
means
we have another paper coming out hopefully in April, which we're going to submit to the Space Technology and Applications International Forum in April, which we've been working on for about 3 years.
Well, that just means that you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's.
Well, science is slow.
Yeah. Well, we have a call. We've got Ira on the line. Ira, welcome aboard, and thanks for joining us. He's a host on the network, and he's a frequent flyer here. Hello.
Hi, Michael. Hi, George. How you doing?
Okay.
Hi, Ira.
George, you were just saying that you come from an artistic background, and actually I really have to commend you for getting involved in this kind of thing, because I think that when it comes to all of this stuff, the fact that it's just strictly scientists looking at this stuff and that sort of thing, I think actually does a disservice. It is all about kind of the amalgam of all different backgrounds and all different fields trying to look at things, because when people look at it from one strict type of background, they miss a lot of stuff.
Well, academics, they're very focused, especially geologists and people that are trying to equate what we're seeing on Mars with the Earth's geology. They get so transfixed in, looking at the surface and the rocks and the formations that, they don't see the forest for the trees, as they say. They may be looking at a geoglyphic formation, and they're not looking at any of the artistic aspects. They're looking at, how did that eye form? I mean, they're not seeing it as an eye, possibly, if we're looking at an eye, nose, and a mouth. They're saying, well, how did that, that ridge there form the lip? They're not saying lip in their mind, but they're looking at the formations, and they're trying to figure out how these formations were made. And, a lot of them are just totally oblivious to, any type of artistic aspect of this. And once that's brought to their attention, they step back and they go, ooh, that's different. I didn't think of that. But, they're thinking on the different side of the brain.
Yeah, exactly. And that actually falls right into the duality type of thing that you were talking about, that when it comes to all of this stuff, you have to look at it from both sides at the same time in order to actually get the right idea of what's going on with it all. Right.
And of course, nature can make mounds and formations that look like a bear and look like a tree and look like this or that. It looks like a squirrel. But what we have to ascertain here, from my artistic point of view, is that what are the anatomical features? I mean, what is the cutoff point where we go, well, you're looking at a cloud and you see like an outline of a face with a nose and looks like an eye indentation there and some hair. I mean, is that just clouds or is that an actual intentional work of art? And what we have to establish is, where's the breakoff point? What is the level that, we see this thing has 10 points of anatomical correctness. So, maybe nature may be 5, but here we're seeing 10, and we're seeing detail. We're seeing the iris and the eye and the eyelash. I mean, that doesn't form naturally. I mean, you can have an eye formation and say, well, that's an eye. It's just an orb or an almond shape, and say, you could say, well, that looks like an eye. But we're seeing things here on Mars that, it's not only a almond-shaped eye, it has an iris, it has a lid, it has eyelashes, it has an eyebrow. I mean, then you're getting into the field that this is intentional. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So it's basically like the difference between intentional art and Jesus toast, essentially.
Yes. And a lot of those are manipulated anyway. I mean, the guys burning it with iron, go, I got the eye in there. But
definitely.
If it's like, Carl Sagan with, the Jesus and the potato chips, try to dismiss everything. But I mean, nature can make these things. But normally those type of things are very general. They're outlines or they're just generic. But, and you can't waste your time looking at generic formations and saying, well, it's only that way because of all the erosion and you can't see. You have to find something that has more substantial quality, like the Parrot Formation that we worked on for 6 years. I mean, that had 17 points of anatomical correctness. We had 3 different veterinarians look at it and give an analysis, and they were blown away, and they thought it was artificial. Plus, we had 2 geologists look at it and say it was not real. It had to be artificial. So, these are the levels that you have to look at.
It's fascinating. It really is.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
When you were speaking about the dolphins thing earlier, it really reminded me how they attributed the importance to dolphins and that sort of thing. It reminded me of Douglas Adams saying that the dolphins were actually here to watch us humans, and they were the actual sentient species on the planet.
Well, they are pretty smart.
Yeah.
They are, but they're getting slaughtered in the cove. So you would think that they would, finally walk up out of the water and roll up their sleeves and say, "All right, enough of this."
Had enough of you humans. I'm sick of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard them talk, and they could be cursing us out. I don't
know. Yeah, they just might be. So, in the end game of all of this, where do you see all this going in the future? Where do you hope that it goes?
Well, with the Society for Planetary Studies Research that I became a member of after having the Parrot paper published, being a member of this organization of scientists. I mean, like I said, I'm just an artist, but this organization includes astronomers and engineers and physicists and geologists and archaeologists, and we're trying to get these formations to be looked at by mainstream scientists. One of the goals of the Society of Planetary Study Research is to get these papers published, and like we're on your show tonight, and when this paper came out, we're sending press releases out. We're trying to get public attention that these formations are out there and they're being looked at through a scientific eye, and it's not just being thrown out there on the media that look at this rock kind of looks like a rat on Mars, and everybody has a laugh and we move on. This is serious stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Another place that really piques my curiosity, and it's even a lot closer to us, is the moon. Have you taken any close looks? Because I've had people now, I don't know how legitimate these are, but I've had people send me pictures and videos where apparently it looks like there's even pyramid-type structures up on the moon in some of the areas. So I don't know.
Well, the moon is another story. I really haven't done a lot of research with the moon images because we really don't have any new images of the moon. We have all the stuff that the Apollo missions took, and they took them out the window, and the resolution's pretty poor. But there's just with the images that we have, there appears to be a lot of strange things on the moon. And then, of course, we have all the pictures that the astronauts on the surface took, with their handheld cameras, taking pictures of rocks that look like machinery again. It looks like the same thing we're seeing on Mars with like all this debris everywhere. And, I'm thinking maybe this is why we don't go to the moon. Because when I was in high school, we were supposed to be going to the moon in the 80s and 90s and having little colonies and going back and forth and, having your summer vacation on the moon.
Yeah.
But I guess it's kind of difficult to take people to the moon and set up bases when you look out the window and you see, ruins of cities and, blown up machinery all over the place.
Yeah, that's true. And
that appears what it looks like. But, you've seen Hoagland. He's got that picture of the debris field there that has the android head and all this stuff laying all over the place. I mean, I've seen other images stuff that looks very much geometric and things that don't look natural. Like parts of buildings and things that are all over the place. So that may be why we don't go there. I mean, it's only 3 days away.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And doesn't China have? Don't they have something orbiting it, taking pictures? I mean,
yeah, they had an orbiter up there. They landed, and they had a rover go around and look at things. And Hoagland thinks they were looking at ruins. I mean, if you go on his website, he's got a whole paper about it. But we really can't Nobody's going there. Why?
That's a good question. It's so close. I mean, my God, we can go back and forth.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be that big of a chore. So,
well, it's kind of difficult when you have members of Congress that, when we landed the rover on Mars, had public statements that we should drive the little rover over there to see the flag that we planted in the 60s. I mean, these are the kind of congressmen we have. So, I don't think we're going there anytime soon. And that really happened.
Yeah.
So.
They're not known for their scientific aptitude in Congress.
No.
No. So what do you think, Ira?
Well, for me, I think that if there was a civilization there, which I do not doubt at this point, I think that there is more than enough evidence to show that at least something was there at one point in time. But it always reminds me of the thought that if something were to happen to our civilization and 10, 20,000 years was to pass by, there'd be nothing left of our civilization but debris fields and spikes of steel sticking up here and there and that sort of thing. It would nature would essentially wipe it off the face of the planet. And, we see that with past civilizations that were here as well. Why couldn't that happen there on Mars? I think that there's enough evidence to show that at least the potential is there, and the fact that people are so closed-minded about it kind of drives me up a tree. It's like, why are you precluding the thought that that is even a possibility,
Yeah.
Well, I think the government knows, and they just don't want the public to know, that there was some type of, horrific devastation that happened on Mars. There's evidence, like Dr. Brandenburg talks about in his new paper, in his current book, about some type of nuclear war on Mars. I mean, it has direct correlation with our history and our origins, and I think this is what happened with Mars. Mars was destroyed, and they just don't want us to think about it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the big possibility is, and one thing that I've thought for many years now, is that at some point in our history, whatever happened there, it jumped from there to here. So, like, maybe their planet was being devastated, so they came here, and we're kind of the offshoots of that. Right, exactly.
Well, yeah,
and the public just couldn't take the thought that we came from another planet and just turn everything upside down.
And not only
and if we came here, did we bring animals with us? Did we bring these images? Like I was saying earlier about all these birds in them.
Well, it may very well be that. I was just going to say, it may very well be the. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Is that why evolution is such a mystery? Because we came here and turned everything all upside down, and presented different species here, or who knows what. It just gets to be fantasy at that point. But it opens up whole different levels of thinking.
Yeah, exactly. And it may very well explain the stories of like the arcs and that sort of thing in our history. Maybe the arc story is relating to us coming from there to here, and we brought DNA here and started it all over here and all that kind of stuff.
Just read the Revelations in the Bible. I mean, it sounds like there was a big war somewhere and we came here.
Exactly.
That whole apocalypse in that chapter of the Bible may be history from, something else that happened. It didn't happen here.
See, now I could accept that. I could accept that, because that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that what's in the Bible, people are describing what they seen, whatever the heck it was. That's what they seen. It's their accounts, their experiences, or whatever. And it could very well. I've said that. I think that it wasn't Noah's Ark. It was Noah's ship, and I mean spaceship.
Right.
Yep. Yep, it's something that I've thought for many years. And again, why don't people accept just even the thought that that is a possibility? It just kind of drives me a little stir crazy.
Well,
yeah, and it appears that the planet died, and because everything we're seeing on Mars, these geoglyphs, they were put there after Mars was dead. So what it appears to be is that the planet was destroyed in some type of horrific war. They came to Earth and then went back to Mars and put up these pictographs. They built all of these things that we would see, in a future date when we were able to do space travel and go and do satellites that went around and took pictures and said, hey, look, that looks like a face down there, which is the first calling card, which Hoagland calls, the face on Mars, to get our attention. And, of course, all these other pictographs What Bill and I think is that all of these geoglyphs on Mars are like a Bible. They're a story. They tell a creation mythology about our human, lineage.
Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me. I kind of follow that idea as well. That it's something like a geographic marker or frequently asked questions type of thing. Just kind of a marker saying, okay, war happened here. Here's what happened. Do not enter. This land is radioactive. That sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Like in 2001: Space Odyssey. Where you take over Europa. Stay out of Cydonia. Don't come to Cydonia, whatever you do.
Well, and that's just it. We've got, we've had messages. Everyone says, "Oh, will they make contact?" I think they have. It's just, we think we're so smart, we overlook everything. It's, and not to mention it gets hidden from us, of course. But things like this. I mean, I could probably, go to most people who don't listen to shows like this and show them pictures like that, and they would try to blow off every one of them because they would believe that, no, if that was true, they would tell us. No.
Right.
It's just not the way it is.
Yeah, well, we've had in our own human history here on planet Earth, there are different civilizations or different language structures that are symbology based. They don't even speak; they just draw on the ground, for instance, and that's the way they communicate with each other.
Right.
Why isn't this a possibility as well? Maybe they communicate in the same type of way.
Well, all over the entire planet, we have evidence of ancient cultures creating these huge pictographic formations of animals and things. So, and we're seeing the same thing on Mars. It's like a human tradition.
Right.
It's a family tradition.
Right, which again is part of the reason why I think maybe something hopped over here.
Right. Yeah, there's too many similarities.
And I wonder, what would we have left of us, of our history? I mean, everything's on computers and paper, and right? I mean, would if something happened here and, I don't know, millions of years went by, would another civilization be able to come here and tell that there was, outside of what our ancestors did here or whoever did it?
Well, you're right. In probably another 100 years, I mean, there'll be no books. There'll be no, everything. You'll have like these glasses that you wear and have all the, Google and everything will be right there for you to learn and communicate. And back in the day, you had telephone poles and you had all this evidence of communication. Now we have everything in the satellites and GPS and all this stuff. It's kind of like Zechariah Sitchin spoke about with the Anunnaki. They had these little boxes that they used to communicate, and they had satellites. That's why there was no evidence on the ground. And we'd have the same thing in the future. They'd say, "Oh, these Americans weren't that advanced. Where's the telephone poles? Where's this or where's that? Where's the machines?" There would be nothing. just little discs that they would think were artwork.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they'd find a few things in a cave and say, "Oh, they were living in caves."
Yeah, I mean, if they found these reflective CDs, they'd say, "Oh, these were probably mirrors,"
Or they find graffiti from a bunch of teenagers going in and getting drunk and writing on the cave walls. Well, that was our civilization.
Yeah.
Find the evidence of the condoms. Oh, they must have been a sexually fascinated type of culture. And
well, it's like Ryan said one night here. You go ahead and bury very deep in airtight container the books of Harry Potter. And see if, maybe a million years from now, somebody digs it up and they read that stuff. What would they think?
They would think it was like a history.
Yeah, exactly.
Or mythology.
Yep.
Yeah.
It'd be Greek mythology to them.
Yeah.
Interesting. So then, you look at Mars and we say, well, look at the geoglyphics and the structures that they've left behind to show us that they were there. But then let's look at Earth again for a minute. And we didn't build the structures and geoglyphics that are here that people might see after we're gone. And so will they think that we did that when, in fact, are we thinking that the last civilization on Mars may have done that when it could have been even further back than that? Because if they had the technology to come here And maybe they were just like us, technology wise, and pretty much destroyed themselves. And any history of their civilization now that might be ancient Mars civilization, more ancient. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'd be like 10,000 years from now if something were to happen to us today and we got erased. Basically, 10,000 years from now, another civilization finds the ruins at Baalbek, and that must have been our civilization.
Right. Exactly. Or if the Nazca lines were still there, they'd think those were. They can't be that old.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
as long as it doesn't rain, I guess.
It's a shame because we could learn a lot of things from Mars, and I don't feel like there's some, and I'm one of them. I guess I think that there's more going on on Mars than we think, and I don't mean like people are playing soccer and throwing footballs around up there, but that I think that we might already have people there. I don't know. It's just a thought that they're already set up, they're already investigating it, and they're looking for a way to tell us, in the long run that this is what it is. I think there would be some people who would go a little crazy because of their religious beliefs, but I say to hell with it. Let's get the truth. I don't care if Bugs Bunny put us here. I just want to know how it all happened. Right. So,
I don't disagree with that at all. It's like, and two, think this way as well. When in our past, our civilizations were disrupted really heavily by whatever events happened. Approximately 11,000 years ago. Here, there's a lot of different things that go into that, but science has now shown that we're descended from about 5,000 people that were alive during that time period, the survivors, you could say. And the civilization
being pulled down pretty small.
Yeah. The civilization that we have now is built up from that time period. Well, what if they had technologies that were there, that they had been handed down for many, many generations? The people during that time period, they'd be just focused on surviving at that point. They would no longer really be trying to save their technology or anything like that. They would just be, okay, we have to figure out how to survive here. Maybe the same thing occurred.
Right. Well, yeah, it's all relative. It's like, who knows how to build a light bulb or a computer? I mean, if there was a catastrophe that happened tomorrow, it's like, how many people would be left that would actually know how to turn the lights on?
Right, your general zombie apocalypse. Who's going to know how to fix Who's going to know how to fix the transformers to be able to get the power back on?
And guys, that's the kind of thing I think about sometimes when I'm just sitting there and twiddling my thumbs. I think if everything was to get destroyed now, and maybe a few handfuls of people survive, would we be lucky enough to have anybody in that bunch that would understand how to get any kind of a grid backup or anything like that? And
you're like, I got to start learning.
You almost feel that way. You feel like I better start studying this stuff. But I hope somebody is.
And you got to wonder too, the survivors that are there. The strong survive, right? So the guys who are going to be dealing with, okay, well, we need to get food, so we're going to rob this person and this person. They may be killing off the people that knew how to do that stuff,
Right.
Yeah, very true. Well, George, we're getting down there on time, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to give you the floor to get out any information that you'd like, and direct people to wherever you like. If you got any appearances coming up or anything like that, you're welcome to go ahead with any of that. And anything you'd like to get out there, please go ahead.
Well, all I got is that, we came on tonight. I came on to speak with you guys about our new science paper about the profile face, which has just been published in the Journal of Space Exploration. And if you go to my Facebook, George J. Haas on the Facebook, or go to the Cydonia Institute or the Society for Planetary Study Research, you can get some information about, and hopefully the listeners will go to the online version of the paper and read it over, and hopefully get back to us and tell us what you think. I have 2 books if the listeners are interested, we have the Cydonia Codex. You can go on Amazon.com or go to our website, the Cydonia Institute, order a copy. We'd love to send you an autographed copy. We have the Cydonia Codex and our second book, the Martian Codex. I've had 2 science papers published. The paper we did in 2011 on the Parrot Formation, which is a pretty exciting formation on the surface of Mars. Besides the Parrot, there's a whole area of ruins above the Parrot and the wing area. Pretty amazing. Mike Barra also did, I think, a chapter in his book about that. Did you have Mike on?
No, I haven't had him on yet. I haven't been able to connect with him. I know he used to do work with Richard Hoagland. I don't know if he does anymore. And I think
right. Well, he's working now with, I think, Ancient Aliens, and he's put out a couple books. And he did a whole chapter on our discovery of the Parrot Formation on Mars, which was pretty cool. And right now, what I'm just finishing up is our third book, which deals with all of these bird formations in the Cydonia area, which hopefully will be coming out at the end of the year. And that's about all I got.
All right, great. Well, George, thank you so much for taking time out with us tonight. And when you get the new book out, please get in contact with me. I'd love to check it out and hear back from you.
All right, Michael. Oh, one more thing.
Sure.
Last year, we submitted this profile formation to the Space Technology and Applications International Forum, which takes place in April in Arizona. This April, hopefully, we'll be submitting our third paper, which deals with the famous crown face.
Oh, nice. All right.
Which was discovered by Greg Orm.
Well, keep me posted.
Heard of the crown face.
Yeah, keep me posted because I'd love to check it out. All right. Well, thank you, George, and we'll keep you linked up on Late Night in the Midlands. And have a great night, my friend.
All right, Michael. Thanks again for having me on.
Oh, you bet. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody. George Haas, and he's done some pretty interesting work when it comes to trying to decipher what's on Mars and what's not. So interesting stuff. He's got a lot of pictures on his site, Ira. I tell you, one day we need to get somebody who will go through pictures like that. 'Cause, I get people will send me stuff, Ira links. Oh, go check this out, and now there'll be thousands and thousands of pictures, and I just wish I had the time to sit and look through them, but I don't. And
yeah, you spend a lot of time just doing research just for the next show, let alone all the pictures and everything to go through.
Oh, you know what? Tonight I am dead to the wall. I don't know what it is tonight. It's just been the whole day. We had a plumbing issue. And, and so there's been people here working most of the day. And I got woke up early and just I've been dead today. It's like I almost even didn't do the show tonight. That's how tired I was. But, I said, well, let me try to get through this and I could rest afterwards. But, yeah, it's been one of those days. But
you gotta love those.
I do. Well, I don't, but but in a sense, I do. So I'm gonna actually call it quits here a little early tonight. But Ira, your show will be on tomorrow, 7 o'clock. See, I told you I'm tired. 7 o'clock, and what do you got going for tomorrow night?
Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about consciousness and how it can relate to the paranormal.
All right. Tomorrow
should be pretty interesting.
Tomorrow night after that, you'll get the last frequency. We come on at 9, and I'll have Ryan with me, and we have a gentleman who's going to be calling in. He's got a bunch of information he wants to share with us regarding what's going down, I guess, in the near future here. So we're going to hear from him tomorrow, and I think that's all. That's what we got going, and of course, Stu's with me on Thursday for his segment, Money and Change. Hopefully, I get enough rest and I'm a little more perky tomorrow because it's just been tiring. It's been very tiring today.
Yeah, you get those days where sleep is interrupted, and really makes it a pain in the butt to try to focus on what you're trying to do.
We were beginning to wonder if when they were working on the plumbing or something, if, I don't know, some kind of gas got spread through the air because, I felt this way. Autumn felt this way. Her daughter, it felt the same way. And it's like, all right, all three of us? It's like we weren't partying last night or anything, so.
Well, sometimes when they work on plumbing, there's a lot of sewer gas and that kind of thing that's caught in the pipes that seeps out, and sometimes that does have that kind of an impact. It'll just make you feel all drained and nasty for the rest of the day.
I'm gonna have to go outside, find me an ant bed, and stick my foot in it. That'll wake me up.
Better than coffee.
Oh yeah, a lot better than coffee. Give me a good rush. Well, Ira, thank you for popping on here with me tonight. I appreciate it. You helped keep me awake the last half hour. Nothing against George now. He's very interesting. It's me. It's not you, it's me.
Fill in with the question asking for you.
Yeah, exactly. But the guest is linked up on the website, so you can check it out. It'll be there until about tomorrow afternoon, so then you'll find them on the links page. But so it should be an interesting one tomorrow night, I'm hoping. And don't forget, next Monday, we're going to be doing a simulcast with another show, another network, Freedom Slips Network. We're going to be doing one with them. And I'm going to be covering these cyber stalkers one more time. And I swear to you, after that, it's all my lawyer. It's all he can handle them because I'm done with it. But yeah, they contacted Alfred Weber last night, Ira. So.
Yeah, I saw the message that he had put out. Very very interesting.
Yeah, they keep. I'm surprised they haven't tried to get you yet. Yeah.
I know. I'm actually rather offended that I haven't been approached yet.
Don't be, because I'll tell you. I was reading to you about the mentally ill, the disability thing that's going on here in the country. I went over that at the beginning of the show, how 43% of those on disability are on it for mental disorders.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we're dealing with a couple guys who've got some mental disorders. I mean, when you could sit there and you could spend day and night thinking of how it's like a DC comic book. It's like the Joker. I'm going to get you, Batman, and you just spend all your time figuring out how to get the Cape Crusader. Look, I'm not a superhero. I'm nothing special. I'm me. Why these guys think they need to spend their entire day and night coming after me and friends of mine? It's just ridiculous. So it's got.
Well, they have to bring the legend down.
Well, that's just it. They act like they're legend killers. Well, I'm not a legend yet. I haven't died yet. So,
yep, there you go.
That's usually when it happens. You get your 15 minutes of fame once you croak. But yeah. Anyways, we'll be covering that on Monday, and I don't know. I don't want to say too much more about it, but I just thought I'd fill you in. But with that, thank you, Ira, for joining me tonight.
You bet, Michael. Always a pleasure to be here. Everybody out there, keep safe and have fun, and thank you so much for listening.
All right. And hey, everybody, yes, thank you for listening. Sorry we're cutting out an hour early tonight, but this man needs his rest, and I'm going to get it tonight. So I do thank you all for joining us on this very tiring Tuesday night for me. And hey, keep your eyes posted to the sky, because you never know what you might see. Keep your ears posted to this broadcast, because you never know what you might learn. And and a quick shout out to our radio affiliates. K98 Talk, hello. High Point Radio, hello. And Dark Matter Radio Network, hello. And thank you all for having the balls to carry us. And with that, folks, have a great night, and we'll be back with you tomorrow night for a full 3 hours. Good night, everybody.